Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to be talking about something that's probably near and dear to every freelancer's heart. When good projects go too far, how do you navigate scope creep and work-life balance? So I'm currently in the middle of a project that has grown way beyond what I originally signed up for. And here's the complicated part. It's actually good work. I really enjoy it. The client's great. By most freelancer standards, this is exactly the kind of project that you want. It's meaningful, it's consistent, and it's aligned with my skills. So why do I feel so exhausted? I do believe that there is a double-edged sword to scope creep. And I know scope creep gets a bad rap in freelancing circles, and for good reason. It's that phenomenon where a project that was supposed to be X quietly becomes X plus Y plus Z, often without a corresponding increase in compensation or timeline. It's the just one more thing that turns into 10 more things. It's the expansion that happens so gradually that you oftentimes don't even notice it until you're drowning. But here's what makes my situation tricky. This scope creep hasn't felt malicious or exploitative in any way. The project expanded organically because we discovered additional needs, additional opportunities, and additional ways that I could add value. And because I genuinely like the work, I keep saying yes. More work, more hours, more income. Sounds great, doesn't it? Except now I'm realizing that there's another cost involved with this. I'm working constantly. I am sitting in my office chair for 12 plus hours a day. And I'm starting to feel that every bit of energy that I have goes into this project. Because the project is mostly providing live trainings for large groups of people who often have many follow-up questions relating to the content, when I finish working, there are days I don't have anything left. And as a result, I'm not calling my friends, I'm not pursuing hobbies, I'm not doing any creative projects for myself, and barely keeping up with basic life maintenance. Because all I want to do when I'm not working is watch TV, fix a few things around the house that have been bothering me that I'm really trying to get accomplished, and sleep. And that's it. My entire non-work life has shrunk down to passive recovery and catching up on neglected household tasks. I haven't caught up with friends in weeks, maybe months for some of them, not because I don't want to, but because the thought of making plans, showing up, and being on in any capacity just feels like too much for me right now. I'm tapped out. So the insidious thing is that good work can become too much when scope creep appears, even when it's in projects that you enjoy. If the work were terrible, it would be easier to recognize the problem and set boundaries. But the issue with this is that the work is good and you're learning and you're growing like I am and getting paid well because of the additional hours. It's harder to see that you've crossed a line from productive and engaged into unsustainably overcommitted. And that's where I am now. And I feel like the warning signs were there. I just rationalized them away. I said things like, I'll catch up with friends once this phase wraps up. Except there's been an additional phase after the last one that appears. I've said, I'm just tired this week. Except that now it's been every week for a while. I've said I should be grateful for this much work, and I truly, truly am. But gratitude doesn't negate burnout. I can handle this. Well, I can, but should I have to? The truth is I'm feeling out of balance. This project, as valuable and as interesting as it is, has taken over my life in a way that's not sustainable for me. I'm functioning, but I'm not thriving. I'm producing work, but I feel like I'm not living a life that I'm fully satisfied with outside of work. And that's a problem, even if, well, I should say especially if the work is good. So when all your energy goes to work, at least for me, you tend to lose touch with the other parts of yourself, the friend who checks in on people, the person who has hobbies and interests, the version of you that thinks about things beyond the current project. I've definitely noticed that my world feels like it's gotten smaller. My conversations are about work, my thoughts are about work, and even my dreams are about work. And even in my downtime, it's basically structuring my activities around recovering from work so that I can do more work. And that's not balanced. That's just survival with a paycheck. And then the guilt compounds it. I should call that friend. I should have more time to do things other than make dinner and do something more enriching than zoning out in front of Netflix every night. But knowing what I should do doesn't create the energy that I need to actually do it. And of course, there's another part that makes this even more complicated. I'm trying to figure out what balance actually looks like for me, and the math isn't simple. If I scale back my hours on this project to reclaim some time and energy, then I lose income. And as a freelancer, the lost income doesn't just disappear into the abstract. It's money that I need, which means if I give up any time on this project, I have to replace that income somehow. But how? Take on another client? That doesn't solve the too much work problem. It just shuffles it around. Raise my rates? Maybe, but I'm not sure if that's something that I can implement immediately, and there's no guarantee that the client will accept it. Find more efficient ways to work? Well, I can, but I'm already working pretty efficiently. So I don't feel like the issue is wasted time. I feel like it's total volume. And that there is a freelance dilemma that nobody talks about enough. The advice is to set boundaries and protect your time. It assumes that you can afford to, but sometimes you just can't. Or at least it's not clear how to do it without creating financial stress that, trades one problem for the other. So I'm stuck in this loop. I need to scale back a little to have a life, but I need the income to survive. So I need to find another way to make that income without just replacing overwork with different overwork. And that's what I don't have figured out yet. It's not just about deciding to work less. It's really about restructuring my entire business model to make working less financially viable. And we know that's not always a quick fix. There are things I can do about it. I'm still figuring it out, in all honesty, but I hoped that many of you could relate with this, so I decided to talk about it today. Now, hopefully what I've been doing as far as helping myself figure it out will help you figure it out, and we can figure it out together. The first thing is I'm trying to name the problem out loud, which is exactly what I'm doing here. I think that just acknowledging that this project has taken over my life and I'm not okay with that is a start. It sounds simple, but when you're in the thick of it like I am, you can rationalize away the imbalance for months. And that's not healthy. Naming it makes it real, saying it out loud or writing it down forces you to confront it instead of just powering through indefinitely. Now, you can also audit where the scope actually expanded. You can go back and look at what you originally agreed to versus to what you're actually doing now. When you write it down, you may be shocked to see the difference. You'll be able to see that expansion in black and white, and hopefully it'll help you to understand how much extra work you've absorbed. And when you do that, it often reveals that you're doing way more than you're being compensated for, even if the pay is good. And I know that that has been the circumstance for me, is that I have been working oftentimes beyond an 8-hour day while getting paid for an 8-hour day or a 4-hour day or whatever amount I'm working, because there is just so much to do. So for me, this project started as part of a pilot program, and it's now a company-wide initiative. So I can clearly see where it actually expanded. And the larger rollout didn't initially feel like that big of a deal, but cumulatively, I have more than tripled my training class time. And again, I love the work, but my voice is tired by the end of the day, and I feel that I've fallen behind with some of the other learning material creation that I was hired to do. So I'm looking at probably planning to have an honest conversation with the client, but this is a hard one, especially when the relationship is good, like the one I have, and I don't want to seem difficult or ungrateful. At this point, I'm honestly not sure exactly what to say. I don't want to necessarily cut down my hours, but maybe cut down on the live training and not do them early in the morning and then also in the evening. In my case, I'm sometimes doing trainings at 7 a.m., which means I log on at 6:30 a.m., and then doing trainings at 9 p.m., which means that I don't log off until 10:30 p.m. Although I'll take some breaks in between, it's still a very long day with other trainings in between those times. So I hope that a good client like this one will understand that sustainable work produces better results than a burned out freelancer limping to the finish line. But it's a risky conversation. When I feel solid about my ask and I'm ready to have the conversation, it's going to sound something like, I've loved working on this project and I'm committed to delivering great results. I've noticed that the scope has expanded significantly, and I want to make sure we're aligned on priorities and timeline so I can continue to do my best work. If I can say it to you, I can say it to them, right? The goal isn't to complain or demand more money, although negotiating compensation for an expanded scope is completely reasonable. The goal is to get back to a realistic, sustainable workload, even if that means scaling back, extending deadlines, or asking if they could bring in additional help. Next is setting boundaries on your time, even if you don't feel like it. Now, this can also be a struggle, but I know it's necessary. I need to block off time that is not for this project. Not time I'll work on it if I finish other things up early. Not time I'll probably keep free, but might use if something urgent comes up. Actual non-negotiable time for life outside of work. I did practice this at the end of last week when I was asked if I could add more nighttime obligations over the next couple of weeks. I normally would have said yes, but the combination of knowing that I am really feeling out of balance and it isn't going away, and that my daughters are going to be on spring break, really made me want to spend time in the evening with them. since I will be working all day. So I said that I wasn't available. I think that I need to keep these boundaries so that I can schedule a phone call with a friend that I've been meaning to catch up with. I may also start to implement a hard stop time each day and stick to it, even if there's more that I need to do, which has really been the problem. I don't like having things hanging over me, so I try to accomplish them before I log off for the day, which makes the log offs sometimes fairly late. I've been staying online longer to get everything complete and prepared to ensure that I don't fall behind. Next is built-in active recovery, not just passive recovery. So watching TV and sleeping, they're not bad. But when that's all your non-work time consists of, like it has with me, you're only recovering enough to work again. You're not actually living. I know that I need to personally reintroduce things that energize me, not just things that numb the exhaustion. So for me, that might mean doing something like going for a walk, which I absolutely love to do. In fact, I sometimes wonder if my lack of outdoor walking recently is actually causing some of my lack of balance. I typically go outside to walk every day, but the weather in my area has recently prevented me from walking outside for over a month. We have literally received feet of snow where I am located, and the paths and trails are snow covered. Luckily, the weather is warming up this week and the snow is melting, and I'm hoping that it melts enough for me to be able to get out there again. Additionally, I escape with audiobooks. They're sort of my thing, audiobooks and podcasts. So listening to audiobooks or podcasts that inspire me help, and I often enjoy them so that they get me out of my day-to-day project work mindset. And while I have still been listening to them, I will admit that I haven't listened to them as much as I usually do, because I usually listen to them when I'm outside walking. Put in the earbuds, listen to an audiobook or a podcast. So I think I need to re-implement these seemingly small things, but realistically big things that remind me that I'm a person with interests beyond this project. Now, I can also remember that no is a complete sentence, so that the next time it's suggested that I expand to do something else, I could say, I'd love to help, but I'm really at capacity right now. And I think I have to get over the fact that saying no doesn't mean that I'm difficult. It means that I'm protecting my ability to deliver quality work sustainably. And a reasonable, good client is going to respect that. I also need to do things like plan an endpoint and start planning the income replacement strategy now. So with that, I'm considering gradually raising rates across all my clients so that I don't have to work all the time, and maybe developing some passive or semi-passive income streams. That would help me to shift towards higher value and a lower volume of work. Additionally, of course, I can still continue to build systems and templates, which I do already have in place. The other thing that's been suggested to me, which I haven't really explored myself, is retainer relationships that provide steady income with more manageable hours most of the time. But none of those are overnight solutions. I have to start thinking strategically about how to restructure my income so it's not dependent on constant output. Otherwise, I'm just going to be stuck in this cycle indefinitely. So if you're listening to this and you're recognizing it in yourself, then I hope that my reflection has shed a little bit of light on your own situation. and make you realize that you too need to formulate an action plan of some type. So for me, I'm still in the middle of this. I haven't completely solved it. I'm still exhausted. I'm still behind on catching up with my friends. I'm still spending my evenings in a semi-vegetative state on the couch. But I'm hoping that this admission will help me to start changing what needs to change. I'm starting to have the conversations, at least with myself, about what's sustainable and what isn't, so that I can speak to the client about this and make any necessary changes on my end that need to be made. It's also helpful because I'm starting to think about the longer term and how to build a business model that doesn't just require me to be on all the time to pay the bills. So I don't have the answer yet, but I know I need to figure it out because the current situation isn't a long-term solution. So good work is still only good if it leaves the room for a good life. I'm working on remembering that and figuring out how to make it financially possible. Maybe you need to hear that message too. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.